But if we jump back into our code here for our template project, let's just go through another example of how we can create a node. So here in the touches began event, when we create the spaceship, I'm going to create another type of node after we've created this spaceship. So it's going to be a sprite node as well, sk sprite node, and I'm going to call this one square. And we can see here that when we create this spaceship, we create it by calling sprite node with image named, and we pass in the name of the image that we want. And so that's going to create a node that draws this particular image on screen for us. But we can also create sprite nodes that just draw a colored rectangle. And so I'm going to do that now by calling sk sprite node with color. And so by passing in a color here, sk color, I'm going to pass in the color red color, and then giving a size, cg size make. I'm going to set it to be 20 by 20. So by doing all that, we will have a node that it doesn't have an image, but it will display a colored rectangle for us. And so we should see a red rectangle on the screen. So in order to actually see this on the screen though, we're going to need to add our sprite to our scene, which is the class we're currently working in. So we could just add this directly to the scene, or we could add it as a child of another node that is already added to the scene. For now though, let's just add it to the scene itself. So I'll say self add child square. And we'll give this a run and see what it looks like. But I do just want to point out that we haven't set a position for our square here. So the default position for the square is going to be 0, 0. So when we create this node, which will happen when we click, our square should appear at the location 0, 0 within the scene. So let's click run here and see what that looks like. So as soon as I click here, we get a spaceship, but we also get this square, and this square comes up down the bottom left hand corner here because this is 0, 0. But I will also point out that we're only seeing a quarter of the square here because our square is actually extending out outside of the bounds of the screen, because the square is positioned so that it is centered on its image. And we can check that out by changing the node that we're adding this square to. So instead of saying self here, I say sprite. What we're going to see now is that we're going to add the square to the position 0, 0 within our spaceship. So let's run that and we'll just have a look at what that looks like. Cool, so now we can see that the spaceship and the square are showing up exactly where I click, but also the square is now rotating with the spaceship. And so we can see that the square is inheriting some of the properties of the spaceship because it's working within the spaceship's coordinate system. So it's inheriting the spaceship's location, and it's also inheriting the spaceship's rotation property. And if we were to set other things like alpha and hidden and stuff like that, then that would also be applied to the children of the spaceship. So it is important to note and think about where you're adding your nodes within the tree. So just to highlight the tree that we're working with here, I've created this little illustration of what's going on. So our scene is at the root, and that is of type sk scene. And then we are adding the label node, which we were seeing sort of drawn behind our spaceship. And our spaceship is being drawn over the top of Hello World because it's being added after Hello World. So the order that we add these nodes to the tree is important. And then we also added this square node, but we added that as a child of the spaceship. And so we were inheriting the spaceship's location and rotation properties there that we saw. And so that's just been a bit of a closer look at nodes there. We are going to be working with them all the time when we're creating our games. So it might be worth sort of having a bit of a look through the documentation and just sort of having a bit of a read up and seeing what type of different nodes there are. So I'll include the link for that for this video. But hopefully now you've got a bit of a stronger idea of what a node is.